All right, this is now becoming a scandal of historic and monumental proportions. Now, the latest chapter of the partisan press unfolded on March the 4th following this tweet from President Trump. Quote, terrible. Just found out that Obama had wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Now, that tweet sent the mainstream alt-left hate Trump media into an all-out frenzy. And for the next several days, instead of investigating the president's serious claim, well, they collectively mocked, they ridiculed, they bashed the president. Watch them in all their, well, horrible coverage.
Our conspiracy theory president is at it again, and whenever something like this happens, I wonder, what are the president's sources of information? Where is he getting these ideas?
The President of the United States is accusing the former president of wiretapping him.
I think that this is, again, something that if this happened, Martha,
If.
We know the President of the United States has no facts to back up his startling allegation that the former President of the United States, President Obama, wiretapped him in Trump Tower during the campaign.
Here's a man who spent years of his life trying to convince America this guy is illegitimate, he is ill-informed, he's ill-conceived, and he tried to retroactively abort him from the womb of democracy.
Why do supporters make excuses for him?
Well, because they're complicit in it, because he's not the product of himself. If we're sticking to horror, Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the monster.
He's got virtually no support on Capitol Hill on this statement, Jake.
It's amazing to watch the White House continue to argue that the earth is flat.
Well, it turns out the destroyed Trump media, they had no facts. When the partisan press, when they got bored scolding President Trump over his tweet, well, they went right back to the same old tired conspiracy. 8 months now, Trump colluded with the Russians to win the election. A baseless claim that the mainstream media has been out there with all these months without one single shred of evidence, not one. Watch this.
I'll say it again. This Russian connection just keeps building, and every time it builds and expands, you have to wonder if Trump himself isn't worried about what's swirling around under the covers.
CNN has learned new details of the FBI investigation into potential links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government.
Specifically, Willie, I think what it means is that a federal judge found that people in Trump's organization were colluding with the Russians.
Was there somebody inside the Trump campaign who was working with them, and did the president know about that, and were they successful?
8 months later, all innuendo, zero facts. Then on March 22nd, the House Intel Committee Chairman, Nunes, he announced that he had credible evidence that President Trump and members of his transition team had been caught up in, quote, incidental surveillance where their names were, in fact, also unmasked. Now, Nunes also revealed this intel was shared among high-level Obama administration officials. So do you think the media went out and investigated that serious claim? Do you think they fairly reported these shocking new revelations? Of course not. They didn't. And as you could probably guess, the media reacted by besmirching and smearing and character assassination against Congressman Nunes. Watch this.
Who decided that Devin Nunes was qualified to be the House Intel chair? Because from everybody that I've spoken to who have worked with him, Republicans, Democrats, like, they say he is not up to that task.
As someone who is trying to lead a nonpartisan investigation, it made him look like a shill for the White House.
The chairman of your committee sneaks down there in the evening. He says weekly he goes down there, comes out, and then goes back down there the next morning with a report that he got from the White House. Does that sound like a masquerade to you?
Pretty unbelievable. And while the alt-left, destroy Trump, propaganda media was busy smearing anyone and everyone who didn't echo their biased agenda, well, we did have real journalists from the Fox News channel right here, Circa News, Bloomberg, who were actually doing their jobs. And they reported that Susan Rice called for the unmasking of members of the Trump transition team. And yesterday, Susan Rice didn't even deny it. But watch out, Don Lemon, Van Jones, the Clinton News Network, they want you to think these developments are all just a big distraction. They're back to the conspiracy. Take a look.
You think that this is a diversion from this Russia story because so far we've seen no evidence that she's done anything improper, and it seems like an effort to tar and feather her to try to make a lie the truth, the original tweet by the president.
This is much ado about Nathan. I mean, not even nothing. You got to go hood and say much ado about absolutely Nathan.
Nothing.
Listen, Susan Rice
is being tarred, feathered, and burned alive for doing her job in a good way.
Unmasking Americans, political opponents, a transition team, that's not her job. And then over there at MSNBC, remember Chris thrill up his own leg, Matthews and others? Well, they took the low road and once again accused Republicans of being racist and sexist for targeting Susan Rice. This is insanity we're watching. Look.
They're looking for a piñata.
Yeah.
They found one in Susan Rice. I do think
Notice it's always a female.
Well, that's also true. No, that's also true.
Basically, they're defaming her without any reason to do so. Because she's a woman, maybe because she's a black woman, maybe because they didn't like her during Benghazi.
You don't like the facts, just claim racism and sexism. Now, President Trump, he's not letting the media define this narrative. And earlier today, he said, quote, "It's such an important story for our country and the world. It's one of the big stories of our time." So here's the challenge. Will the partisan destroy press media treat the story with the importance it deserves? Will they continue to weaponize and politicize national intelligence, reveal the names of innocent Americans when there is no warrant to spy on them? Will they ever get to the bottom of who released and classified information and intel about Michael Flynn? Will the media, how's this, will they ever apologize for ridiculing President Trump over his surveillance claims now that he is proven right? My message is clear. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, all of their friends at the national print media, the New York Times, Washington Post, it's time to realize that your level of partisanship and hatred for the president has now gotten in the way and totally clouded your judgment in what is now one of the biggest scandals in American history. Now, maybe you do something right for once. Maybe admit your bias. Maybe apologize to the American people. Maybe apologize to the president because your veil of unbiased journalism is a sham. Don't hold your breath. I'm not expecting the apologies or the corrections. Joining